Welcome to Bet On It. I know it's Wednesday because, well, I woke up to a flood of tweets asking me where the hell was Bet On It. Well, it's here. I hope you guys are ready. It's time for the college edition. This is one of my favorite shows that we do here at Wager Talk. I'm Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas, joined by Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas, VR Ace, Gianni the Greek at Greek_Gambler. If you guys are new to the show, we're gonna have a really great time. And I've been told on my other shows that I need to save the messing around and the jokes because they want to hear John Murray talk. So you guys are going to get it extra hard today because I'm not allowed to have too much fun on the other one now.
They don't like me and Marco talking? Is that what you're trying to say?
No,
they want to hear Murray, but not us?
I don't know. Yeah, they want me to just bust your guys' balls and not
I think what they really want, Kelly, is they just want the camera on you, and then we could talk. So you just leave it on you, and that's it. Okay?
That's the plan for today, then. As I always like to start off with the show, remember, guys, this is Wednesday. So we're going to talk about today's current lines. Obviously, things are subject to change come Saturday before the games kick off. That includes Thursday and Friday night games. But we're going to try to give you guys the best line available and be able to talk about that in that general perspective. Hopefully, they don't move too much unless VR's group does something insane. Let's kick it off with the primetime games. There's a few games on Saturday that I'm looking at pretty heavy here. We're going to start off in the Big Ten. You guys ready? I'm not ready for this one. Why? Because Sparty, I am still mad at you for last week, and now here I am looking to back you again.
Why do you think I put this game on the list, Kelly?
Because you wanted to trigger me in my soul?
Yeah, I just,
I had him last week, too.
I was not involved in that game, but I feel your pain. And what happened? I mean, did they start looking ahead to Michigan? What was the score?
I think it was right before halftime because Illinois was able to go in the half with momentum.
And throw a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Like, it was
It
crazy.
seemed like it changed things.
And then everything went wrong in the second half. It doesn't matter. We're going to talk about this game. And, yes, of course, I like Sparty again. Michigan State at Michigan. Marco, do you want to start since you didn't have to deal with this last week?
Michigan State, this team, I don't know what the problem is with them. Coming into the season, a lot of people thought this team was going to be improved. They changed the offense. They were going to go at a quicker tempo, all of that stuff, and it just has not materialized. But the concern is you're up 28-3. The one thing that you could always count on with Michigan State was supposed to be that defense.
What's supposed to be?
What the hell happened? 28-3, and Illinois comes back and has, the big second half that they do. Not only get the cover, they get the win. I mean, what's going on here? I look at this one, and this is Michigan State's bowl game, pure and simple.
Well said.
Not only that, but after that loss, would you say that the statement is there's value on Sparty this week against Michigan?
Oh, absolutely, because Michigan now has had 2 blowout wins. But, guys, just slow your roll. You beat Rutgers. You beat Maryland. Don't get excited about it, okay? Michigan's got one game coming up that is a couple weeks away. That's the game that means everything to them. This is a rivalry, but let's be honest about it. This rivalry means more to Michigan State than it does to Michigan. Michigan's main rival is Ohio State. I know that sounds silly, being in the state, but that's just the way it is. Every year, it's Ohio State and Michigan. So for Michigan State, with a dismal season, yeah, they're going to go to a bowl, but what bowl are they going to go to? Let's not get excited about their season.
They're probably going to play K-State.
I think
the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl.
K-State's played better. They're going to get a better bowl.
I need it to be somewhere close so I can actually go.
Yeah.
Everybody else hates those crappy bowl games, but I'm not going to Memphis. Let's just be honest.
But you're not going to be walking in Memphis?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm not going to Memphis for Christmas.
I'm on the under in this one. I think you're going to see a defensive war we know what Michigan's defense can do. You know what Michigan State's defense is supposed to do, and they've got to be in a bad mood after blowing last week's game. I think you're going to see low-scoring game. And look at this. The 3 good teams that Michigan State has played this season, they were held to 10, 0, and 7 points.
Woo!
And they're facing a good defense today. So I'm looking for a low score. I'm going under 44.
All right, VR, quickly, because we got 2 other games to talk about. This one's come down from 14 to 13.5. I know that's not a huge money move. Is that one of your groups over there?
No, we didn't bet it, but I'm not surprised there's some sharp money that took that better than 2 touchdowns on the dog, especially in what should be a lower scoring game. I mean, listen, these are two teams that appear to be going in opposite directions, with Michigan having won 5 of 6, having covered 5 of 6, and Michigan State coming in off 4 straight losses. But let's not forget, only in one of those games was Michigan State a favorite. I mean, they were on the road at Ohio State, at Wisconsin. Those aren't games they're going to win. So not surprising for them to come in off these losses, although last week was a huge disappointment against Illinois. But I think that's why we're getting a kind of inflated price here. Surprisingly, before the season started, that's what the number was. It was like 14.
So it is probably slated
right around where
right.
it should be.
All right.
I think there's a little value on the dog.
Okay, I'm going to stick with you here. Nice SEC matchup, Georgia at Auburn. Georgia back in the mix in the college football playoff. I'm not sure they should be. I like the dog here in Auburn +3. It looks like mainly 2.5s now across the board. VR, are you seeing any movement on this game?
No, I can see why you like it also. You know, it looks attractive. Auburn at home getting points, especially with Georgia kind of in this must-win situation that we've all put them in. Kind of, it's now on you. If you could win out, if you could get to the SEC title game, if you could win that SEC title game, you will be in the playoffs, even though you have that one loss. So it's all on them. And that must win is kind of what scares me a little bit. But I got to look to the Georgia side here. With a win, they clinch that SEC East, I believe. You're looking at a freshman quarterback on the other side for Auburn. It's a really tough game, and for Auburn to have success, they have to run the football. Unfortunately, nobody could run the football against Georgia. I think they're number 1 against the run, and if Auburn has no success running, that quarterback's going to be in a little trouble as a freshman. For me, it's Georgia or pass.
Marco, who you siding with here?
I'm going with Georgia in this one, and everybody's going to...
Wrong answer.
On to the next game.
All right, well, we're out of time, guys. Just kidding, Marco. Tell me why you like the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's the defense. And everybody's going to look at Auburn and see that 3-point loss on the road at LSU. And LSU was in that mode where they were just trying to win. They had the bigger games coming up. They got through it. They had the Alabama game on the horizon. Georgia, yeah, they're in that tough mode of having to keep winning, but we're not laying a touchdown with Georgia. We're laying 3. I like them here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Georgia. I'll lay it with the defense. Go ahead and take the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I haven't rushed to the window to back this one yet, but I do lean with the Tigers here. I hate being opposite of both of you guys. Twitter's going to have fun with that one yet again. As always, great stuff from both of these guys. It is time for us to step out for a quick break. But when we return, it's time for the big game breakdown. That's right. We're talking OU at Baylor. This one's an interesting one, and you guys got to stick around to find out who we like.
Get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com. This is just our way of saying thank you for joining the Wager Talk and Sports Memo family. Every Monday at wagertalk.com, all plays are just $9. This even includes top-rated 5% plays, which normally sell for $40. There's no better day to get winning picks than $9 Mondays at wagertalk.com and our sister site, sportsmemo.com.
Welcome back to Bet On It. If you wondered why we didn't talk about this game during the primetime segments, it's because, well, it's a Big 12 game, and I decided to make it its own segment. No, all jokes aside, this is probably the biggest game on the board. So this week's big game breakdown, Oklahoma at Baylor. Oklahoma, 10-point favorite. That's how I feel about this game. I'm obsessed with square dogs as of lately because I'm on a mission to prove everybody wrong on Twitter. All jokes aside, I only can look at Baylor here. I do feel like they're going to get a lot of public love. They're undefeated. But on the flip side, everybody's going to say they haven't beat anybody. But I can't trust Oklahoma to keep their foot on the gas. The only way I can really look is, and I'll probably play it this way, is Oklahoma in the first half. I think Oklahoma will get in, just like they did against Kansas State. And guess what? They're going to leave that back door open. They're probably going to lose this game somehow.
Well, they left the back door open last week, Oklahoma did, and Iowa State almost went through it. They got the cover, but, give them credit. I know there was a lot of discussion on Twitter at the end of that game. To me, it was the right call. When I was watching the game, I said, you got to go for 2. You're on the road, take the momentum, you've scored. Oklahoma's on their heels. Don't give them a chance to regroup in overtime. Go ahead and punch it in there, because at that point,
that's fair.
Oklahoma, they punched them in the gut. To come back from 14 the way
21 at one point.
Yeah, 21 at one point, but 14 in the fourth quarter. It was a tremendous effort by Iowa State, and we'll see what they have left later after that type of loss. That's always the problem. What's left next week when you do that and come up empty? But let's look at this game. Last week it was Minnesota. No respect. Undefeated team, ranked 17th, and they're getting
I was all over Minnesota.
A touchdown at home. Yeah, we all were.
But the general public couldn't wait to back Penn State laying less than a touchdown on the road. It was a different flip side than the Iowa-Michigan State game, and that's where I'm kind of beating myself up, overthinking this now, and that's my own fault. But
Baylor, look at what Matt Rule's done. He's done everything
He's going to win Big 12 Coach of the Year.
He's done what he did at Temple. He built a team that plays defense. Last week, their offense struggled. Yeah, you look at the final score, you say, oh, no, they got into the 20s. No, they had to go 3 overtimes to get there. They were being shut out for most of that game, 6-0 by TCU. And TCU, remember, they only had one walking quarterback left on the roster for that game, and he was playing with a broken finger. They had nobody left, and they put up a big battle, and that's definitely why you call things sandwich games. That was the week before the Oklahoma game. You know Baylor had to have one eye looking ahead to this one. I got to take the home dog here. I know it looks too easy to do the primetime home dog, but what else are you going to do? It's a Saturday night game. They're undefeated. They play defense. Oklahoma right now, the last 2 weeks, you look at the Kansas State game, what they did. You look at this one. This is looking like the Oklahoma defense we saw last year that couldn't stop anybody. I'll take a defensive home dog.
VR, you and I were both on Baylor last week, and boy, was I happy to cash that ticket. Your thoughts this week, Oklahoma at Baylor?
Yeah, I got to disagree, and here's the reason I lean Oklahoma is I think this is the game that we're going to see that team on paper play on the football field, because on paper they're one of the best teams in the country, top 4, 5 at the most, power rating wise. Oklahoma's right there. They just haven't played up to that potential, especially against the spread. They've been burning through money this season. But I think the spot favors them. It's tough to go against Baylor, who it's a team that's winning ball games, covering ball games, playing hard for their coach. They have a win streak going back to last season. So there's a lot to like there with a double-digit home dog. But I just think this is that Oklahoma, the way they were able to get up 21 on Iowa State, I think that team is who's going to show up on Saturday, except
I think
they're going to keep
4 quarters.
Exactly, keep their foot on the gas, because this is Baylor, an undefeated football team.
This is probably the best defense they've faced all year, too.
They're pretty much big game left, until the Big 12 championship, what have you. So I think, like we joked about Michigan or Michigan State, I believe, a couple weeks ago, but this is a hill I will die on. I think Oklahoma is good enough that I think they do warrant being that big of a favorite in this game.
The only thing I will say to Ace's side there, if Oklahoma does have the opportunity, this is the game that you want to do style points.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If they're legit, because they know if they're supposed to have a possibility to still get into that 4, this is the game you have to show it. Not against Iowa State, you have to do it against an undefeated Baylor.
That's fair. All right, great stuff, guys. I cannot wait to watch this OU Baylor game. We're going to bring in our resident stat guy, Ralph Michaels, with this week's TNA. Mr. Ralph Michaels, sitting in for our favorite segment of the show.
Wait a
TNA.
minute. You just said on another segment it was your favorite segment. Which is it, girl? Come on.
I didn't think you actually watched the show and paid attention to anything I said. No, I do love the trends and angles, but my heart is with the barking dogs, Ralph.
All right.
I know. Okay,
so I'm second fiddle?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, I'm just greedy like that. I like the plus money.
I understand.
So we just got done talking about Baylor, Oklahoma.
Okay.
You got a little...
Yeah, well, let's talk disrespect.
Okay.
Oklahoma's putting up historic numbers, but, you have a Baylor team that this goes back to 1992. It doesn't happen very often from week 10 on. So from week 10 on, that means you're either 8-0 with 2 byes, or you're 9-0 with 1 bye, or you're 10-0 with no byes. Going back, again, we're talking 28 years. You're undefeated. You're a home dog from week 10 on. 15-4 against the spread.
Wow.
This is the largest spread there's been since 1992. So no team from week 10 on has been an undefeated home dog with this big of a spread. So it just shows you the disrespect or how good people perceive Oklahoma is. So just something to keep an eye on when we're talking about those quality undefeated teams.
Okay, what else did you dig up for us over there?
Well, week 6 on, and I used week 6 because I'm talking about coming off a shutout loss and now you're a home dog of 3.5 or more. The reason I used week 6 was, weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, there's a lot of Sun Belt teams that get shut out against SEC teams. There's a lot of lower conference teams that play money games that are getting shut out. It's not the same thing as week 6 on when you're into October, you're playing conference games, and you're into your routine of the season. So from week 6 on, if you are off a shutout loss and now you're a home dog of 3.5 or more, so that means you played a very poor game, you're the inferior foe this week as a home dog, and since 2012, that record is 7-24-1 against the spread. So the team that was playing poorly and got shut out last week is still playing poorly this week, to the tune of, if you play the visitor, you've covered 77.4%. The two teams that got shut out and are a home dog, Missouri got shut out against Georgia.
Yes, they did.
Vandy got shut out, which means play Kentucky. So fade Missouri, fade Vandy. This system says play on Florida, play on Kentucky.
Okay.
Okay, we all know what's the magic number in college football? 6. You win 6 games, you're bowl eligible. You are now in the month of November. You have 5 wins, and
Lots of teams with 5 wins.
you are a home dog.
Okay.
Good or bad? You've got pressure. You're a home dog.
I feel like it's got to be good.
It's not.
Oh.
There is pressure. We need that 6th win.
Usually I'm good at guessing these.
Yeah.
This is not good for me today.
29-55, 34.5%
Wow.
since 2014. So we have an 80-game sample size, a pretty good sample size, that says fade California, play on USC, fade Missouri, play on Florida. So 2 systems both say fade
All right,
Missouri,
I'm going to go ahead and cross
play
them
on
off my
Florida.
list now. Thanks, Ralph. I was really looking hard to make a case for them with Kelly Bryant coming back, but I guess.
Well, again, each situation's different. Kelly, I'll give you credit for this one. You asked me about this game.
Okay.
AP top 5 teams off a loss as a home favorite.
So my thought process here was LSU, Bama, both of them off this monster game. How do they fare the next game?
Well, in the last 11 years, there's only been 15 top 5 teams that have lost as a home favorite.
Wow.
It doesn't happen very often. Those teams are usually undefeated till you get to, or if they go on the road, they may lose on the road. But losing as a home favorite is a rarity. The next game, they've gone 7-11 straight up, which is a number to remember.
Wow.
4-14 against the spread, 22% against the spread. So that says to fade Alabama and play on Miss State this week.
I like that. I like it. I'm going to do it. I already did it anyway because Ralph sent that to me last night. It's that inside info, guys. Great stuff as always, Ralph. We are going to take a quick break, but when we return, it's time for my real favorite segment. Yep, that's right. Ralph, can you bark for me?
No.
Barking Dogs is up next.
Want up-to-the-minute scores and odds direct from Las Vegas? Then check out our Wager Talk odds page. You'll get all the latest lines along with moves as they happen from all the biggest books in Las Vegas, including Westgate Superbook, Circa, Golden Nugget, Wynn, Stations, CG, and South Point, just to name a few. Best of all, it's absolutely free.
Welcome back to my favorite portion of the show besides Ralph Michaels. You know that I love the underdogs. We know VR's got to have that little sprinkle on the money line. All right, it's time for barking dogs, boys. Marco, you get to go first.
Well, I'm going to go with the Naval Academy. We're going to take them plus the 7.5 against Notre Dame. And this is
Big money's coming. I bet Navy yesterday plus 9.5. I know I'm not supposed to say that on the show because then everybody gets mad. But this has moved 2 points in the last 12 hours.
Yeah, it has.
This is a spot where I'm looking at Navy. Nobody's been able to stop that running game of Navy. They're 4th in the country at 6.1 yards per play. They're number 1 in total yards rushing, 357 yards per play. Last year, Notre Dame beat them 44-22. But 2 things I want to point out from last year. Navy was dismal last year. They had their worst season in the last 10 years last year. Also, Notre Dame had a bye week the week before Navy. This is something that you have to look at. When teams have a bye week the week before they face the option team,
extra
that is a
time.
huge advantage to prepare for because it's not an offense you see. Now, granted, they see Navy every year, but still, it's different to practice for it. It's not something that you're accustomed to. Now they don't have that extra week. I like Navy here. I don't see Notre Dame being able to slow them down. And a new wrinkle to Navy this year, if you look at them, they're sneaking in some pass plays just when you don't expect it, and they're going for big plays. They don't connect on a lot of them, but the ones they're connecting on are going for big plays. Half of their games this year, they've had over 100 yards passing, which is insane for the Navy offense. I'm going to go ahead. I'm taking Navy here. I'm not buying into Notre Dame being back after rolling Duke, who, if you look at Duke
That's
the
what I
last
was going to
month,
say. We have to look at how bad
Duke's just
Notre Dame
free fall right
laid
now.
an egg against Virginia Tech,
Which was
likely to win the game.
their dream crusher
Right,
game.
and that's fine. And then they go on the road and just pummel Duke. I think you're right. This is a very good spot for Navy. VR, still not going to bark for me. Okay, so.
One time this year, you got to give
do
him
a Rottweiler bark.
Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, VR.
My barking dog. I'm going to go ahead and give out Georgia Tech over Virginia Tech. Va-Tech's had problems with Georgia Tech. I mean, they were favored against them last year. They lost. They were favored against them the year before. They lost. For some reason, this Georgia Tech offense gives them trouble. And I think that's going to be the case here again this week. Virginia Tech, I mean, they only have one road win. Nothing too impressive there. I think Georgia Tech's live.
I do like both of your plays, actually. I'm going to go with Stanford. No disrespect to one of my favorite college coaches, Mike Leach, but I like the Stanford team. I know they're like K-State 2.0, at least former K-State 2.0. It's tough, but they've won 8 of their last 11 against Washington State. This is a Washington State team that can't seem to figure out their own identity this year.
What happened last week to
I know.
Last week's game, Washington State.
They were getting steamed like it was over, like it was free money.
Yeah.
Yes, and then that was all she wrote. I'm going to play against them this week in this spot with Stanford. I think Stanford gets over the hump here, gets to be, well, they need one more win on top of this one, but gets to be bowl eligible. I know that Washington State's playing for the same thing, but this is a lot of points for the Stanford defense, who's going to eat up this clock and control a lot of this game. All right, next up, the dogs have been walked. So that means it's time to get ran over by the steam engine VR and your steam game of the week.
All right, I'm going to fade a Philadelphia team. So if you're in North Philadelphia on Broad Street, I apologize, but we are going against the Temple Owls and laying the points with Tulane as multiple betting syndicates got behind that Tulane green wave. As soon as that line came out at -4.5, bet at -4.5, bet at -5, bet at -5.5. That's why you're looking at it at -6 right now. This Tulane offense, man, they can put up some points. I think they're 6th nationally. Again, I'm regurgitating other people's stats. It's not proprietary. I don't really like doing that a lot. But it's true. I mean, they can score. Any team that can do that, I'm a fan of, especially when you have extra time to prepare. They've had 2 weeks for this game. Temple coming off that big game against South Florida. Remember, Temple got blown out, by that Buffalo team early in the season when they were 2-touchdown favorites. So they're beatable. Take Tulane here -6.
I like that play as well. VR, would you say, just because we're going to have some questions at the end of the show, and this is kind of correlated, would you say there is a number where from 4.5 to 6 we know is a move, but it's not a huge move?
Right.
It's a dead number.
Dead number of 5. In the NFL, we're starting to see it more now that the PAT's been pushed back, but in college football, not so much. Is there a number maybe
At 7, you got to take a step back.
Okay.
Not automatically look at the other side. Like now at 7, I like Temple.
Right.
But I think at 7 is probably that break-even point where now you're flipping a coin. If you win, it's product of good luck. If you lose, it's bad luck. There's not really line value there anymore.
Okay.
You know, because 7's such a key number. Again, they're going to say,
Absolutely.
what's the difference? How'd you get line value at 6 and not at 7? Because 7 is one of those numbers you don't want to keep running into. Again, you only remember the times it burned you most of us, you know.
Of course.
But again, it's just some habits you want to have as a sports bettor if you want to win long term. You want to get the right size of 3 as often as possible, the right size of 7 as often as possible, the right side of certain totals. Like, those are habits you want to get into.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to clarify that for our viewers because it has moved. We know it's moved. We know why it's moved. But at what point, if somebody's watching on Saturday morning and it's now 7.5, should we know to tread lightly? All right, guys. Every single week, Marco's either going to bring us a sandwich or a trap game. And lately, Marco's Deli has been open for business.
Well, yeah, we've been eating good over here.
These sandwich games of the week.
We got another one.
Everyone's got to eat.
Have you ever gone to a restaurant, you had something, it was so freaking good, you went back, you had to get the sandwich again, it was that good, you just were craving it?
Yeah, whenever we go to Big Chicken, you get the one with the mac and cheese on the top.
Oh, yeah.
That's
the Charles Barkley?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
There.
Huh? You haven't gone there yet?
No.
Oh, man, we'll have to take you. But last week's sandwich was Texas Tech.
Okay.
I enjoyed that sandwich so much.
Left a good taste in
was
my
a
mouth.
great-
Oh, it did.
That was a great call.
We're getting it again. We're going
back, Texas Tech.
Back to back. They're in the sandwich. What can I say? They were in the sandwich last week. West Virginia was in the sandwich spot. They're the meat of the sandwich. Well, this week, TCU's coming off of Baylor. They played Baylor last week. They led them the whole way. Baylor gets the lead late. They tie it up, go into overtime. And then we talked about the situation with TCU and the banged-up quarterbacks and everything else. What a
Quarterback, they only have one.
Imagine having the under on Baylor. Imagine if you had that under.
We talk about bad beats a lot. That would have made me want to throw up for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like
that's
9-6.
surprising. That's one of the unders that I didn't have. You would have thought I would have had that one.
Marco had some rough
I-
unders this week.
Have I mentioned how much I hate freaking kickers? Because a missed extra point in the Monday Night Football game cost us the, again.
Yeah.
Again, and just so many things.
And then, he cost me against the Bucks.
Yeah.
And then he is automatic from like 45 yards out, of course. And
But you look at this one, TCU off of Baylor, so it's a letdown spot for them coming off that big game. Then who do they got up next? Oklahoma. You go from playing undefeated Baylor to next week you play the top gun in the conference year in and year out, and that's a game that obviously TCU has circled. Yeah, Texas Tech, their defense, not good. And last week they were facing an anemic West Virginia team. But did you see the score before they went into overtime last week? What were they tied at? What was it?
9.
Okay, all right. Am I worried about this TCU offense here against the Texas Tech defense?
I'm just worried that if their quarterback gets hurt, who's going to play? Some running back or fullback that played quarterback in high school?
Yeah, that's what they got to do. That's what they got to do, or have a walk-on,
If they have one. Ever since Alex Delton left, and I forget the name of the starter, the start of the year, getting hurt, it's pretty much done so for them.
Hold on, we don't want you to get dripping.
I need a napkin.
Have the bib on you.
Man, you know how many people are going to be trying to zoom in on your sheet now to see all the plays you had there?
I mean, he does have that thing color-coded.
Oh,
I do.
It's beautiful. I mean, I'm for no disrespect to sound like a sexist pig here, but men are not usually that organized. And I actually, VR has great handwriting. He has multiple color-coded, and I'm like, wow.
It's very stereotyping of us. Yeah.
I've seen your notes. I can't read them. I've seen Ralph's notes. I also can't read
All
them.
of my notes are typed. I'm not the one that sends you handwritten notes.
Drew does that. You're correct, and I can't read his either. I'm like, just don't worry about it.
But this is a spot, Texas Tech, they've been rolling. They've scored 30 or more points in 4 of their last 5 games. I'm going with Texas Tech, 31-24. Might see some points in this one. TCU, as bad as their offense is, they are going to have an easier time against the Texas Tech defense. It's not Baylor that they're going against, but still, this is just a bad spot for them. You got me. I'm on Texas Tech.
Yeah, I agree with you, Marco. I, too, am on Texas Tech right now. Current number is 3. I like VR's play on Tulane as well. As we mentioned, if you guys want to get that one, now is the time. We got lots of time left.
Let's tell our listeners we've got something coming up at Wager Talk.
Oh, yes, that's going to be
Good time
fun. So one of our fearless leaders, Gianni Detroit, is going to be in town December 1st. We're going to be hanging down at the Westgate. We rented out the clubhouse to watch some NFL football. You guys get to watch me get really angry and sip on myself like these guys got to do during the national championship during basketball. People laugh about that a lot. They're like, oh, I bet Kelly's so much fun to watch games with. I'm like, no, she's not. So if I have a couple of bets that are probably on the other side.
That went our way, right?
That did go our way, but if you remember, I left the booth.
You had to leave. Yeah, we're like, stay out of it. Stay out. Don't come back.
It was just one of those things. So the clubhouse is going to be fun. I think we have basically an unlimited bar tab. So if you guys are going to be in town, I've got a couple other people that RSVP'd, told me they were going to be here.
Hey, and even if you hate us, come down and say hi. I'd love to meet you. You know, all of our Twitter followers.
That is always funny. Twitter always likes to say a lot of things, and I always joke with people that no one's ever mean in real life. But if you want to come be mean in real life, you're welcome to
Here's
join
your
too.
chance.
I'll buy you a beer. You can tell me how much my picks suck and what other horrible stuff you want to say to Marco that you don't feel like saying on Twitter. But anyway, December 1st, the Westgate Clubhouse, open bar. It could get a little crazy.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Bobby the bookie's going to be there. I'm excited
Everyone's
to see him.
coming in for this.
Yeah,
The question is he bringing his stripper entourage with him?
All right, great stuff, guys. We're going to step out for a quick break.
Hey, it's like an American Express card. He never leaves home without them.
Does he bring them places? I'm not used. I don't know. I have been to the Flight Club, but that's a whole nother story. We'll save for another day. When we return, it's best bet time.
We want you to be a VIP, and with our Ring in the New Year package, you can be. Right now, you can buy any capper at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com and get all their plays in all sports through New Year's Day for just $350. There's football almost every day in November, and in December, from the middle of the month through New Year's Day, there'll be either NFL action or college bowl games every day. This is the deal of the year. Just $350 gets you all plays in all sports from your favorite capper. Hurry, go to wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com now. This even includes all 5% plays that sell for $40 by themselves.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It's that time of the show you guys have been waiting for. It's time to take a look at this week's best bets in college football. Well, I know Marco and I usually disagree, which is way more fun for the show. Texas. No, that was fun. I was very happy that Texas decided to kick the field goal there. So I won't. Does that only count as like a half win for me?
How about the kick return or punt return?
That was so good. I was at the K-State basketball game. That was fun. Yeah, special teams, that's us, Kansas State.
I had a ball. It was just tremendous.
All right.
That was almost as fun as Kentucky having 4 shots inside the 3-yard line at the end of the game.
Yeah, just they're the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm not going to bet K-State this week. I think it's too many points, but I am going to agree with Marco here. And I like Navy. I played this one last night early, but we still have some value here at 7.5. I feel like, and I know you said earlier that Navy was not good last year, but that was kind of like a very small sample size. They just had an off team, an off Navy team, we'll call them.
When they get beat by Army, it's an off year.
Yes. This is an almost automatic bet each year. I have a bunch of buddies that are big Notre Dame fans, and even they say every single week or every single year you should bet Navy. As again, they've covered 12 of their last 14 in South Bend. I like this Navy team a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if they take the good old Irish to the wire.
I can't disagree with you. And a little fast story for you on Notre Dame. My father-in-law was a big Notre Dame fan because his daughter went to Notre Dame. She was in the first class that accepted women there.
Oh, wow.
But he used to do a little bar bet every year.
Bet they want to take that back.
And this was fun. And that was back when Notre Dame, in the glory days, where they had a tremendous defense and everything
Of course.
else. He'd go into the bar and he'd bet anybody that wanted to do it. He'd say, I'll give you all of Notre Dame's opponents, and you can multiply the scores. And I'll just take Notre Dame's scores and add them up. And at the end of the season, whoever has more points wins the bet. And everybody would jump on it. One shutout is all you need.
That's it.
One shutout.
And
Notre Dame tosses the one
Yeah.
shutout, he wins the bet. And they usually had a shutout because they played a lot of little sister
Little cupcakeies.
Yeah,
That's
but,
great.
Fun little story there. And going to my best bet, we're going to go to the Mountain West. And this is a game that everybody is going to gravitate to the underdog. They're going to look at Wyoming.
And Craig Bowl, because he's good as an underdog.
Yeah, well, this isn't the week, folks.
It's not.
It is not. We're going with Utah State, and I absolutely love this play, and we've got all of my angles in here that I like to look at. I'm going to throw the Dream Crusher game out there because Wyoming, not that they were playing for a national championship or anything, but last week they were playing for their division. They would have been in first place if they beat Boise State, and they had Boise State on the ropes in Boise the entire football game. Boise ties it up late, sends it into overtime, gets the winning field goal in overtime. Now, how does Wyoming bounce back off of that near win? You're winning the entire game. Your goal was gone. They're 2 games behind now with 3 left, and Boise has the tiebreaker, so they're not going to win the division. But lo and behold, in comes Utah State that coming into the season was the buzz team in the Mountain West. A lot of people were talking, everybody loved the quarterback, little pun, love. But, they weren't living up to it at the time. But now if you look at the standings, they're just 1 game back. And they've got Boise State yet. This is a spot where I'm jumping on Utah State. They got a big win. Again, we used them last week here on the show. Utah State got the money for me against Fresno State. And in the last 2 weeks, if you look at what Love has been doing, he's put up huge numbers 2 weeks in a row, throwing for just under 400 yards back-to-back weeks. Wyoming in the flat spot off of the devastating loss. Utah State with the win, got momentum. And remember, this is a team that's 5-4, but they're 4-1 in conference play. And if you look at the beginning of the season, why they are sitting at 5-4, they had one of the toughest out-of-conference schedules. They played at Wake Forest, at LSU, and then in conference play, they were on the road at Air Force, and then they had the rivalry game against BYU. This is a team that's played a very tough schedule. It's going to serve them well now down the stretch. I like them here, and we're getting a ton of value in this line. The line has been coming down.
Yeah,
because
I'm looking at that. That's what I was going to ask you.
Because the public is going to run to Wyoming. They looked at them getting a double-digit figure last week against Boise State and had them on the ropes. I don't see them bouncing back. And it's back-to-back weeks on the road, and you're playing at Utah State, a little bit of elevation there. I'm going ahead. I'm taking Utah State, and I'm calling for them to win 34-20. This is my best bet this week. So, and I like this game a lot, so I'll get a lot of grief on Twitter if the game doesn't come through.
VR, did you guys play Wyoming?
No, I haven't touched that game.
Okay, I'm just curious. I'm looking at this, and it's just rather intriguing. No disrespect to Marco. I'm not fading Marco, which is what I'm rating. Someone on Twitter is going to say that. I'm just curious to see where the money's coming in at, because you're right. I'm looking at it, and it doesn't add up to me either. All right, VR, talk to me. Best bet time. What you got for us?
I'm going to go with a total in the SEC. It's the early game. Don't want to miss it. Missouri, Florida. Going to go over that 50.5 before it gets to 51. Quarterback Bryant's back for Missouri this week, and their top wide receiver, Johnson, who missed that game against Georgia. And I think Missouri's going to have some success putting up points against Florida. And more importantly, we're looking at a really low total for these two teams. If you look over the last 2 times these two met, the game went under the total, but those numbers were a lot higher than what we're facing on Saturday. In fact, if they posted 50.5 those last 2 years, both games would have flew over the total. Instead, they were just really high. I think this line's going to continue to climb. You probably want to get on it before it gets to 51. If you agree with me, if you disagree, you may want to sit back and let it get past that 51 if it does, and get a little more value on the under. But again, I think Missouri with their top wide receiver, their quarterback, back, I think they're going to finally be able to put up some points against Florida, who pitched that shutout last week. And I think this has a little recency bias on this total because of those results.
I agree with you as well. Plus, Missouri really would love a W here against this Florida team to make them bowl eligible. All right, we're going to do a new little fun segment. Thank you for all of you that participated on Twitter. We're going to call it Ask the Experts. I am not the expert, so don't ask me. I get in trouble anytime I try to say that, so I prefer the word insider.
Okay.
It's better that way, Marco.
Ask the insider?
I don't know what to ask.
It just doesn't
All right.
ring.
Question number 1 comes from the Yi001. Kelly, I'm a straight better only. I risk 1.5% of my bankroll per play. The question is about your ratings. Why not just play your best bets? Ratings from 2 to 5 star makes it diluted. Also, when calculating win percentage, do 2 stars count as more wins? It's measured by percent of units or percentage won. Now, so I don't sell picks. And what I do on the BR show is based on units. So I'm like, cool, I'm 6-2 this week, X number of units, blah, 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 right? And so I kind of just do both. It does count as a win, but you're right, it is percentage of your bankroll. Now, Marco and I were talking off air, and I said, I play a lot of games. College, I bet I have, let's call it 8 to 12 games a weekend. And in NFL, I've historically had more than I normally would have. I have about 4 or 5 games a weekend. Now doing more media stuff, I now have more games. There was one weekend I had 10 games. There was a week that I had 8 games. That's a lot for me in the NFL. This week I only have 4 thus far, but things progress throughout the week.
Only Wednesday.
Yeah, you get a phone call, and next thing you know, you got 7 games on the slate. So to answer your question, how I rate things, I got a lot of criticism for this on Twitter because I don't play my 1 units. Well, why wouldn't you? Well, because to me, a 1 unit play isn't strong enough. It's just an opinion. I have an opinion on 40 college games this week, you guys. I can find an opinion. Trust me, I'm an opinionated woman. I will find a reason to bet a game.
No.
So I don't bet those 1 units because I just throw those out. Otherwise, I would have a giant slate of games, and I think all things would come crashing down. 2 units means, okay, the math adds up, the situation adds up, maybe some trends and angles add up, maybe you pick a few out of each. 3 means the math adds up. Oh, I really like this situation, and also we know that the public's going to be on the other side. Whatever it may be, very rarely am I ever going to have a 5-unit play. I had 1 this year, and it was the Minnesota Vikings. In the NFL, I've had 0 in college football. There just haven't been anything that I've loved. Most of my stuff is what I would say a 2 or 3 unit play. Marco or VR, do you either have anything to add to that?
The thing that I will say with the units is obviously if you're a high volume player, it makes more sense for you to flat bet your wagers. Me, I'm not a high volume player, so I do have that difference in plays because I like a game more. It fits more of my angles, more of my situations, and the stats support the situation. That's what's going to push a game from being maybe a 2 or 3 unit play to the 4 or 5 unit play. So I definitely understand both sides of the coin, but you have to do what you're comfortable with. And I know, Ace, you're a guy that's more of the volume, so it makes more sense for you to group your plays closer together with what you're playing. But there's always going to be that 1 or 2 games that's going to stand out over the crowd. So good question. It's definitely a good question we got there.
All right, I almost couldn't read this Twitter handle, but Tommy at basic_ZR1 asks, this is a good VR question. When you decide to play moneyline versus playing a spread when betting on a dog, or are you like I am, do you play a little bit on the 3 and play a little bit on the money line? What's your differentiation between when you're betting on dogs?
Great question. Personally, especially in the NFL, because we know that the point spread doesn't come into play pretty much 8 out of 10 times. So if you're going to bet an underdog and you're taking the points, you're going to want to have some money on the money line. I made it simple for myself when I bet an underdog. I know this is my straight, this is what I'm betting, and this much I'm betting on the money line.
So if
I'm going to put $100, if my bet size is $100, I already know I'm betting 88 to win 80 on the spread and 20 flat bet on the money line. Like I'm going 80-20 automatically, and I just take all the guesswork out of it by making it that simple, already choosing my increments. And I think that's the best way to do it because, again, the most difficult thing to do is stay consistent. And that's why most bettors lose money long term, even those with access to winning information. So I think consistency is definitely the key. You don't want to be changing your bet sizes too significantly is how I feel.
I absolutely agree with that. I think the 80-20 rule is sufficient.
And if I'm betting a favorite on the money line, I look for small. I don't bet big favorites on the money line. I don't like parlaying money lines and stuff like that. But any favorite, those 2 point and under, -1, 1.5, 2, I always take the money line. I'll never lay the 1.5 or 2, almost never in football.
Okay.
Especially if you got one
You
and a
can
half,
slay
if you got
130,
minus 1.5, and you can find a 120.
Exactly, because
Okay.
if you do the
Especially
math,
with
you're
the-
saving money. If
With the
each
extra
half
points
point,
in the NFL right now, as many that have been missed, that 1 point comes
Exactly.
into play. We had one more question, Kelly.
We do. We got about a minute left here. Why don't pick sellers charge a handsome commission for your winner and take the losses at the same rate with the rest of us? Why should we insure your plays? This is an honest question from @Pete31HZ.
I'll answer this one really quick. If you contact somebody that sells picks and the first question out of their mouth is, how much do you bet? Hang the phone up, okay? Just hang the phone up, because these guys, that is the black eye of the industry. They are scammers. They want to know what size better you are. And then if they're working on a commission based on your bets,
they're playing for free.
they're playing for free. They're going to tell you to bet $1,000 every game because they want to make their 20, 30% that they're charging you. Do not do that. That's why you're asking for trouble doing that with some of your better off. We charge everybody the same amount. You make the decision on what you want to bet.
Personally, I don't feel. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. We've got 10 seconds.
I'm
Gotta
out
get
of time. We got to step out for a quick
Sorry,
break.
Matt.
And when we return, it's time for our final thoughts on this week's action. Did you know every Tuesday is $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com? We pick the hottest handicapper and offer his best bet for just $2. This is a great way to introduce yourself to the winning handicappers at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. All right, we've gotten lots of positive feedback on this part, and Marco says we're not going to axe it, even though you guys probably still scroll to the end. That's okay, though. I wish you guys would watch our show. That makes me sad. Just kidding. All right, let's recap all of this week's plays. We're going to start off with the primetime slate. I'm on an island by myself here with a couple of these. We all agree, well, VR and I agree, Michigan State, and Marco likes the under, which I also agree with. Georgia at Auburn, yep, by myself here with Auburn. I don't know. I like the line move in my favor with the Auburn +3, but these guys are probably right with Georgia with a ton to prove. Oklahoma at Baylor. Marco and I both lean towards Baylor here. VR?
On an island.
On an island by himself with Oklahoma. But, hey, I could see this game go. Honestly, I should have said this earlier. I could see this game going either way. Oklahoma wins by 24. Baylor wins the game outright. That's the two options that's going to happen here.
I think you're so right.
All right, let's go over to the Steam Trap and the Barking Dogs. Barking Dogs. Marco likes Navy +7.5. Georgia Tech. Ooh, VR, that one is scary, but I do like it as well. And I am on the Stanford Cardinal. Hopefully they can get that outright W as a double-digit dog. VR's Steam game this week, Tulane. Remember, as he mentioned, he gave some really good insight on when you should not play this game. But right now at -6, still okay. And Marco's back to eating sandwiches with the Red Raiders 2 weeks in a row. All right, I'm with you on Texas Tech this week. I did not join last week, but I agree here, especially with TCU. I'm not sure what they have left in the tank. Time to recap our best bets. Marco going with Utah State, and I just looked even as we're filming this one's down to 4.5. Somebody likes Wyoming, but his name is not Marco D'Angelo. VR, I'm with him here. Florida over 50. It's now 50 and 50.5 in some spots. VR said, hang tight if it gets to 51.5. And I think Navy is going to spring the upset in South Bend. We'll see. Sorry, Notre Dame fans, don't hate me. I feel like every week, it's just because I have such a large fan base. They're like, we hate you so much.
Yeah.
It's okay. Listen, again, guys, we're betting numbers, not teams. Either way, every single week, we appreciate you guys tuning in to follow us, to fade us, whatever it may be. The College Edition had a nice bounce back last week, looking to make it 2 weeks in a row. Don't forget to check out our NFL edition. It will be up shortly after this one. And if you're not a subscriber to our Wager Talk YouTube channel, just make sure you hit the subscribe button, and it will notify you. You'll be the first to know whenever next week's show is out. Also, please share on social media, and don't forget to check out the NFL version.